Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his destroyer, watching the stars through the main screen. The peaceful view didn't match the fear in his chest. 3 human colonies had gone silent in the past week. No distress calls. No final messages. Just empty space where thriving worlds used to be. "Captain, we're getting something," said Lieutenant Grace Williams from her station. Her young face was pale as she worked the controls. "It's from Kepler Station." Jake moved to her side. Kepler Station was humanity's pride, their first major colony beyond Earth's solar system. Over 2 million people called it home. "Put it through." The message was broken and filled with static. A man's voice, filled with panic, came through the speakers. "This is Kepler Control to any human ships. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Unknown alien vessels. They're not responding to our calls. They're destroying everything." The message cut to screams and the sound of explosions. Then silence. Jake felt his hands shake. He had fought pirates and rebels. But this was different. This was first contact, and it was going badly. "Set course for Kepler Station, maximum speed." "Sir, that will take us 6 hours," said his navigation officer. "Then we better hope we're not too late." But they were too late. When Jake's small fleet arrived at Kepler Station, they found only wreckage. The massive space station was broken into pieces. Ships floated dead in space. There were no survivors. "My God," whispered Commander Amy Torres, the leader of their fighter squadron. She had flown close to the wreckage in her small craft. "There's nothing left." Jake stared at the destruction. Kepler Station had been protected by defense platforms and a small fleet. Whatever had done this was powerful, very powerful. "Captain, we're picking up 3 ships approaching fast," reported Grace. Her voice was tight with fear. "They're not human designs." The alien ships appeared on their screens. They were sleek and silver, shaped like curved blades. They moved with a grace that human ships couldn't match. Energy began to build around their weapon systems. "All ships, battle stations," Jake ordered. "Prepare for combat." The battle was over in minutes. The alien weapons cut through human shields like they weren't there. Jake watched 2 of his escort ships explode before he could even return fire. His own destroyer shook as energy beams hit the hull. "Shields are down," Grace reported. "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 7. Jake knew they couldn't win. "All ships retreat, get us out of here." They jumped to hyperspace just as another alien beam would have finished them. Jake slumped in his command chair, watching the stars. Streak passed. They had lost 2 ships and over 300 crew members. For nothing. The trip back to Earth took 2 days. Jake spent most of that time writing reports and trying not to think about what he had seen. The aliens had technology that was far beyond anything humans had built. Their weapons were stronger. Their ships were faster. And they had shown no interest in talking. When they reached Earth orbit, Jake was ordered to report to Admiral Lisa Carter immediately. The Admiral was waiting for him in her office at Fleet Command. She was a stern woman with gray hair and tired eyes. "Tell me everything," she said. Jake gave his report. Admiral Carter listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "This is the 4th attack we know about," she said finally. "There may be more. We're calling them the Zephyrian Collective. Our intelligence people think it's an alliance of 3 different alien species." "What do they want?" Jake asked. "We don't know. They won't talk to us. Every time we try to communicate, they just attack." Admiral Carter stood and walked to the window. Outside, Earth looked peaceful and blue. What I do know is that we're losing this war before it's even started. Jake thought about the alien ships and their terrible weapons. Our current ships aren't going to be enough. No, they're not. Admiral Carter turned back to him. That's why I'm approving a project that was considered too risky before. We're going to build something new, something that might give us a chance. She handed Jake a data pad. On the screen was a ship design unlike anything he had ever seen. It was massive, 10 times larger than the biggest human warship. The design showed fighter bays, manufacturing facilities, and weapons systems that covered the entire hull. "This is the USS Defiance," Admiral Carter said. "It's a supercarrier. The idea came from Dr. Ryan Blake, one of our best engineers. Instead of trying to match alien technology ship for ship, we're going to try something different." Jake studied the design. "It's huge. How long will it take to build?" "Too long. The aliens are moving fast. Our scouts report large fleets massing at the edge of our space. We have maybe 6 months before they launch a full invasion." Admiral Carter sat back. "Down. But we have to try. This ship represents a new way of thinking about space combat." "What do you mean?" "Traditional space battles are ship against ship. Big guns trying to blow each other up. But this carrier is designed around fighters and adaptability. It can build new fighters during battle. It can change its tactics based on what it learns. Most importantly, it puts human creativity and flexibility against alien rigidity." Jake looked at the design again. He could see the potential, but also the risks. "It's never been tested. Nothing like this has ever been built by anyone, human or alien. That might be our advantage." Admiral Carter took the data pad back. "I'm putting you in command of the project, Jake. You've seen what we're up against. You know what we need." "Me?" "Admiral, I'm just a destroyer captain." "You're a destroyer captain who kept his head under fire and brought his crew home. That's exactly what we need." She stood up. "The construction is already starting at Luna shipyards. Dr. Blake and his team are working around the clock, but they need someone who understands combat to make sure this ship can actually fight." Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The future of humanity might depend on this one ship. "When do I start?" "Right now." "And Jake?" Admiral Carter looked directly at him. "We get one chance at this. If the Defiance fails, Earth falls. Make sure it doesn't fail." As Jake left the Admiral's office, he looked back at Earth one more time. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were preparing to destroy everything humans had built. But humans had always been good at one thing: surviving against impossible odds. The USS Defiance would be their test of that ability. The war for humanity's future was about to begin. The Luna shipyards had never seen anything like it. Workers moved like ants around the massive skeleton of the USS Defiance, welding, cutting, and assembling the largest ship in human history. The construction bays that normally held 3 destroyers could barely contain this single vessel. Chief Petty Officer Dan Sullivan wiped sweat from his forehead as he watched his crew install another section of the fighter bay. Dan had built ships for 30 years, but nothing had prepared him for this. The Defiance wasn't just big. It was complicated in ways that hurt his brain to think about. "Chief, we've got a problem with Section 12, called out one of his workers. "The fighter launch tubes don't line up with the blueprints." Dan sighed and walked over. The blueprints changed every day as Dr. Ryan Blake and his team found new ways to improve the design. It was frustrating, but Dan understood why. They were building something that had never existed before. There was no manual to follow. Dr. Blake appeared next to him. carrying another data pad with more changes. The young engineer looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. His hair was messy and his clothes were wrinkled. "Dan, we need to modify the launch sequence again," Dr. Blake said. "I've figured out how to reduce launch time by 15 seconds per fighter." "Doc, my people are already working 20-hour shifts," Dan replied. "Every time you change something, we have to rebuild half the section." I know. But 15 seconds could mean the difference between a successful launch and having our fighters destroyed before they clear the bay." Dr. Blake showed him the new design. "Look, if we angle the tubes like this and add magnetic acceleration." Dan looked at the design. Despite his frustration, he had to admit it was clever. Dr. Blake wasn't just brilliant. He was thinking about how the ship would actually fight. "All right, Doc, we'll make it work. But this is the last change for Section 12. "I promise," Dr. Blake said, then paused. "Well, probably." Across the shipyard, Lieutenant Grace Williams was having her own problems. She stood in what would become the Defiance's main computer core, surrounded by cables and half-installed systems. The ship's artificial intelligence was her responsibility, and it was the most advanced system ever built. "Grace, the AI is learning." "Too fast," said her assistant, a nervous young programmer named Kevin. "It's already beyond what we programmed it to do." Grace looked at the screens showing the AI's development. The system was designed to learn from combat data and adapt tactics in real time. But even in testing, it was showing creativity that surprised her. "That's not a problem, Kevin. That's the point." She typed commands into her console. "The AI needs to be smarter than us if it's going to help our pilots fight aliens with superior technology. But what if it decides we're wrong about something important?" Grace paused. It was a good question. The AI was supposed to assist human decision-making, not replace it. "We build in safeguards. The AI can suggest, but humans always make the final choice. Captain Morrison will have override control on everything." Speaking of Captain Morrison, Grace could see him through the observation window. He was in the tactical center with Commander Amy Torres, working on fighter deployment strategies. Even though the ship wasn't finished, they were already planning how to use it. Captain Morrison studied the holographic display showing different fighter formations. Amy stood next to him, pointing out problems with each approach. The standard. "Earth formation puts too many fighters in one group," Amy said. "If the aliens have area weapons, they could take out half our strike force with one shot." "What do you suggest?" Morrison asked. "Smaller groups, more spread out. Each group has a specific mission. Some attack, some defend, some provide electronic. Warfare support." Amy manipulated the display to show her idea. "It's more complex to coordinate, but harder for the enemy to counter." Morrison nodded. Amy was the best fighter pilot in the fleet, and her ideas about tactics were usually sound. "Can the AI handle coordinating that many separate groups?" According to Grace, yes. The AI can process information faster than any human commander. It can adapt the formation based on what the enemy does. General Paul Martinez joined them at the display. The gruff military man had been assigned to coordinate the Defiance project with overall Earth defense. He looked tired and worried. "We just got word from the outer colonies," Martinez said. "The aliens hit 2 more systems. No survivors." Morrison felt anger rise in his chest. More people dead while they worked on their experimental ship. "How long do we have?" "Intelligence thinks 6 weeks before they reach the inner colonies. Maybe 8 if we're lucky." Martinez looked at the incomplete ship around them. "Will she be ready?" "She has to be," Morrison replied. In another part of the ship, workers were installing something that made the Defiance truly unique. the manufacturing bays. These weren't just repair facilities. They were complete factories that could build new fighters and weapons during battle. The idea had come from studying how humans fought wars on Earth. Unlike aliens, who seemed to rely on fixed strategies and unchanging technology, humans adapted constantly. They built new weapons to counter enemy tactics. They changed their approach when the old way didn't work. Chief Warrant Officer Mike Chen supervised the installation of the manufacturing equipment. The small, quiet man was a master at making complex systems work together. He had volunteered for the project because his brother had died in the first alien attack. "Mike, the fabrication units are online," reported one of his technicians. "We can build a complete fighter in 4 hours." "4 hours is too long," Mike replied. "In 4 hours, a battle could be over. We need it down to 2 hours." "The specifications say 4 hours is the design limit," Mike smiled. "Specifications are just suggestions. Let's see what we can really do." While the technical teams worked on their systems, other preparations were taking place across human space. New pilots were being trained in tactics designed specifically for fighting aliens. Marines practiced boarding operations against mock-ups of alien ships. Scientists studied every piece of alien technology they could find. The work continued day and night. Welders worked in the vacuum of space, sealed in their suits. Engineers solved problems that had never existed before. Cooks prepared meals for workers who couldn't leave their posts. Dr. Blake stood in the main corridor of the nearly finished ship, looking at everything they had built. The Defiance was more than just a weapon. It was a statement about who humans were. Where aliens seemed to rely on superior technology and overwhelming force, humans had built something that emphasized flexibility and creativity. Captain Morrison joined him in the corridor. "Worried, Doc?" "Terrified," Blake admitted. "We're betting everything on ideas that have never been tested. What if we're wrong?" "Then we lose," Morrison said simply. "But if we had tried to match the alien ship for ship, we would have lost anyway. At least this way, we're playing to our strengths." "What strengths?" "Our technology is inferior. Our weapons are weaker. Our ships are slower." Morrison looked around at the bustling activity. Workers were installing the last systems, running final tests, preparing for launch. "Our strength isn't our technology, Doc. It's this." He gestured at the organized chaos around them. "Humans don't give up. When someone tells us something is impossible, we figure out how to do it anyway. When we're outgunned, we get creative. When we're outnumbered, we adapt." Dr. Blake nodded slowly. "The aliens have had the same technology for centuries. They fight the same way because it's always worked for them." "Exactly. But they've never fought humans before." Morrison walked toward the bridge. "Come on, Doc. Let's see if your ship is ready to change everything." The final systems came online one by one. The fighters were loaded into their bays. The manufacturing equipment was tested and retested. The AI began its initial combat simulations. In the command center, Admiral Carter watched the progress reports. Earth's entire future depended on this one ship and its untested crew. Outside the windows, she could see the stars where alien fleets were gathering. The USS Defiance was almost ready. Soon they would find out if human ingenuity was enough to overcome superior alien technology. The real test was about to begin. The USS Defiance moved through space like a metal mountain. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display as they approached the Proxima system. Intelligence reported a Zephyrian patrol fleet in the area. 3 ships, probably, scouting for the main invasion force. "Captain, we have contact," announced Lieutenant Grace Williams from her station. 3 alien vessels, just like the reports described. They're holding position near Proxima Station. Morrison nodded. Proxima Station was one of humanity's last major outposts. If it fell, the aliens would have a clear path to Earth. "Are there any survivors on the station?" "Negative, sir. The station went dark 6 hours ago. Another human outpost destroyed." Morrison felt the familiar anger burn in his chest. But today was different. Today, humans would finally fight back with something that might actually work. Commander. "Torres, launch the first wave," Morrison ordered. Amy Torres was already in the fighter bay, suited up and ready. Around her, 50 other pilots prepared their craft. These weren't the standard human fighters that had failed so badly against alien technology. These were new designs, built specifically for this mission. "Listen up, people," Amy said over the comm system. "We've trained for this moment for months. These aliens think we're primitive. They think our technology is weak. Let's show them. They're wrong." The fighter bay doors opened, revealing the star-filled void. Amy's fighter shot out first, followed by the rest of her squadron. Behind them, more fighters launched from other bays. Within minutes, over 200 small craft were in space around the massive carrier. The alien ships noticed them immediately. The sleek silver vessels began to move, their weapon systems charging. They had destroyed human fighters before with ease, but these weren't the same human fighters. "All squadrons, execute pattern Delta," Amy commanded. The human fighters scattered in all directions, moving in a complex dance that had been programmed into their systems. The AI aboard the Defiance coordinated their movements, adjusting the pattern based on alien responses. The first alien ship fired its main weapon, a beam of energy that could cut through most human ships, but instead of hitting a concentrated group of fighters, the beam passed harmlessly through empty space. The human craft had moved just before the weapon fired. "How did they know?" asked Lieutenant Colonel Steve Parker from the Defiance's bridge. He was a Marine commander, used to fighting on the ground, but even he could see that something was different about this battle. "The AI predicts their targeting," Grace explained. "It analyzes their weapon systems and movement patterns, then tells our fighters where not to be. The alien ships tried to adapt, spreading their fire across multiple targets. But the human fighters adapted faster. Some groups provided electronic warfare, jamming alien sensors. Others attacked from unexpected angles. Still others hung back, ready to replace any losses." Pilot Officer Kelly Brooks dove her fighter toward the lead alien ship, her weapons charging. She was young, only 22, but she had trained in the new tactics until they were instinctive. "Target their weapon arrays," she called to her wingman, "just like we practiced." The alien ship turned to track her, but Kelly was already changing direction. Her fighter was equipped with new engines that could accelerate faster than anything the aliens had seen. She fired her missiles at point-blank range, then rolled away as the alien return fire missed by meters. The missiles struck home, destroying one of the alien weapon systems. It was the first time humans had successfully damaged an alien warship. On the Defiance's bridge, Commander Neil Johnson watched the tactical display with growing excitement. "Captain, it's working. Our fighters are actually hurting them." Morrison allowed himself a small smile. "Signal all squadrons. Continue the attack." The battle became a swirling dance of small, fast fighters against large, powerful ships. The aliens had superior weapons and armor, but they couldn't hit targets that moved so unpredictably. Their rigid tactical systems couldn't adapt fast enough to counter human creativity. Sir, one of the alien ships is trying to retreat, reported. Grace! Don't let it escape, Morrison ordered. If they report our new capabilities to their fleet, we lose the advantage of surprise. Amy led a strike group to intercept the fleeing alien ship. Her fighters swarmed around it like angry bees, their weapons chipping away at its shields and armor. The alien vessel was faster than human ships in a straight line, but it couldn't maneuver like the fighters. Target their engines, Amy commanded. Disable them first, then finish them off. The coordinated attack overwhelmed the alien ship's defenses. Its engines exploded in brilliant flashes, leaving it dead in space. The other two alien vessels, seeing their companion destroyed, tried to fight more desperately, but desperation made them predictable. The Defiance's AI analyzed their panic responses and fed the information to the human pilots. Within an hour, all three alien ships were destroyed. As the last alien vessel exploded, the human fighters regrouped around their carrier. For the first time since the war began, humans had won a complete victory. All fighters return to base, Morrison ordered. Well done, everyone. As the fighters landed, Morrison walked through the ship to meet with his crew. In the fighter bay, pilots were climbing out of their craft, laughing and celebrating. Some were shaking with adrenaline. Others sat quietly, processing what they had just accomplished. Amy Torres pulled off her helmet, her face flushed with excitement and exhaustion. Captain, we didn't lose a single fighter. Not one. Casualties? Morrison asked. 2 fighters took. Minor damage. Both pilots are fine. Amy looked around at her squadron. Sir, I've been flying for 10 years, and I've never seen anything like this. The coordination, the information flow, the way the AI helped us predict enemy movements. It was like we were dancing instead of fighting. Dr. Blake appeared at Morrison's elbow, carrying a data pad full of battle analysis. Captain, the AI collected enormous amounts of data from this engagement. It's already identified 17 ways to improve our tactics for the next battle. Next battle? Morrison asked. The aliens will send a larger force to investigate what happened here, but now we'll be ready for them. Blake's eyes gleamed with scientific excitement. Every battle makes us smarter. Every engagement teaches us more about how they fight. General Martinez joined them, looking more hopeful than he had in weeks. Captain, this changes everything. If we can consistently achieve results like this— We can, Morrison interrupted. But we need to be careful. The aliens will adapt too. They're not stupid, just rigid in their thinking. Once they understand what we're doing, they'll try to counter it. Then we'll adapt faster than they do, Amy said firmly. That's what humans do. Later that day, Morrison stood alone on the bridge, looking out at the stars. In the distance, he could see the wreckage of the alien ships drifting in space. For the first time since the war began, that wreckage wasn't human. Grace approached him with a communication from Earth. Sir, Admiral Carter wants a full report. Morrison took the message pad. Tell the Admiral that the USS Defiance is operational and effective. The alien patrol fleet has been eliminated with no human losses. Sir, there's something else, Grace said. Long-range sensors are picking up massive alien fleet movements. They're mobilizing everything. Morrison wasn't surprised. The aliens had just discovered that humans weren't as helpless as they thought. They would respond with overwhelming force, trying to crush this new threat before it could spread. How long do we have? Intelligence estimates 2 weeks before they reach the inner colonies. Morrison looked around his ship. The Defiance had proven itself in one battle against a small patrol. Soon it would face the full might of the Zephyrian collective. Hundreds of alien ships with weapons and technology that had dominated the galaxy for centuries. But humans had something the aliens didn't understand. They had the ability to look at impossible odds and find a way to win anyway. They had creativity, adaptability, and the stubborn refusal to give up. "All department heads to the briefing room," Morrison announced. "We have 2 weeks to prepare for the real fight. Let's make sure we're ready." The first battle was won, but the war was just beginning. The USS Defiance had changed everything, just as Admiral Carter had hoped. Now they had to prove that one ship could make a difference against an entire alien empire. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. The Vega Nebula stretched across space like a purple and gold cloud, hiding secrets in its swirling gases. Captain Morrison stared at the tactical display, knowing that somewhere in that beautiful nebula waited the largest alien fleet ever assembled. "Sir, long-range sensors show at least 60 alien ships," reported Commander Rachel Stone from her intelligence station. "Maybe more. The nebula is interfering with our scans." Morrison nodded grimly. 60 ships against 1. The odds were worse than anything humans had ever faced. But the Defiance wasn't alone this time. 3 human destroyer squadrons had joined them, along with every available fighter craft from the inner colonies. "Captain, incoming message from the alien fleet," announced Grace Williams. "They're actually trying to communicate. Put it through." The main screen flickered, showing an alien face for the first time. The creature looked reptilian, with golden scales and large black eyes. When it spoke, the translation system turned its words into flat, emotionless English. "Human vessel, you have interfered with collective operations. Surrender now and your deaths will be swift." Morrison stepped forward. "This is Captain Morrison of the USS Defiance. You attacked our colonies without warning. You killed our civilians. We don't surrender." The alien's eyes narrowed. "You cannot comprehend our superiority. Your primitive technology is no match for collective might. This nebula will be your grave." The transmission ended. Morrison turned to his crew. "Well, at least we know where we stand. All stations prepare for battle." Throughout the ship, final preparations began. In the fighter bays, Commander Amy Torres checked her squadron assignments. The Defiance now carried over 400 fighters, including new designs that had been built during their flight to the nebula. "Listen up, people," Amy announced to her pilots. "This isn't like our last fight. There are too many enemy ships for hit-and-run tactics. We're going to have to get creative." Chief Warrant Officer Mike Chen was in the manufacturing bay, watching his teams prepare the ship's secret weapon. During the journey to Vega, they had built something new, fighters designed specifically for this battle. "Are the stealth fighters ready?" Morrison asked over the comm. "Yes, sir," Mike replied. 20 units, equipped with electronic warfare, systems, and improved engines. They should be invisible to alien sensors until they attack." "And the bombers?" 50 heavy attack craft carrying our most powerful missiles. If we can get them close enough to the alien command ships..." "Good work, Mike. Stand by." The battle began at the edge of the nebula. The alien fleet emerged from the purple clouds in perfect formation, their silver ships gleaming in the starlight. They moved with the confidence of a force that had never known defeat. The human fleet looked tiny in comparison. The Defiance was massive, but the alien ships outnumbered them dramatically. The 3 destroyer squadrons spread out in defensive positions, their crews knowing they were probably going to die. "Sir, the aliens are spreading out to surround us," reported Commander Neil Johnson. "They're trying to prevent our escape." "We're not running anywhere," Morrison replied. "All fighters launch when ready." The space around the Defiance filled with human fighters, but not in the patterns the aliens expected. Instead of forming attack groups, the fighters scattered into the nebula itself, using the gas clouds for cover. Squadron leader Tony Rodriguez led the bomber wing deep into the nebula's heart. The purple gases swirled around his fighter, making navigation difficult but hiding them from alien sensors. "Bomber wing, hold position," Tony ordered. "Wait for the signal." The main alien fleet advanced confidently, their weapons charging. They had learned from the previous battle and adapted their tactics. Instead of trying to track individual fighters, they planned to saturate entire areas with weapons fire. But the humans had adapted too. "Execute Operation Ghost Dance," Morrison commanded. The stealth fighters emerged from the nebula like phantoms. Their electronic warfare systems created false targets on alien sensors, making 20 fighters look like 200. The aliens responded by firing at empty space, while the real human fighters attacked from unexpected directions. "It's working," Grace reported. "Their targeting systems are completely confused." The battle became chaos. Alien ships fired wildly into the nebula, trying to hit targets that might not exist. Human fighters darted between the gas clouds, striking quickly and then disappearing again. The nebula that was supposed to trap the humans became their greatest advantage, but the aliens had numbers. Even confused and frustrated, 60 ships carried enormous firepower. One of the human destroyers took a direct hit and exploded in a ball of fire. Another lost its engines and drifted helplessly. "Captain, we're taking heavy casualties," reported Steve Parker. "The destroyers can't take much more of this." Morrison watched the tactical display. The plan was working, but not fast enough. They needed something dramatic to turn the tide. "Tony, are you in position?" Deep in the nebula, Squadron Leader Rodriguez checked his sensors. His bombers were perfectly positioned behind the alien command ship, a massive vessel twice the size of anything else in their fleet. "Target acquired, sir. Ready to attack." "All fighters, concentrate on the smaller ships," Morrison ordered. "Draw their attention away from the bombers." Amy Torres led her squadron in a desperate charge against the alien battle line. Her fighters swarmed around the enemy vessels, firing everything they had. The aliens responded by focusing their defensive fire on the attack, just as Morrison had hoped. "Now, Tony, hit them hard." Rodriguez's bombers emerged from the nebula at full speed, diving toward the alien command ship. Their missiles streaked through space, each one carrying enough explosive power to destroy a human destroyer. The alien commanders realized the trap too late. They tried to turn their ship away, but it was too massive to maneuver quickly. The missiles struck like hammer blows, punching through shields and armor. The command ship's reactors went critical. The explosion lit up the entire nebula, a miniature sun that briefly outshone the local star. When the light faded, the massive alien vessel was gone. "Direct hit!" Grace shouted. "The command ship is destroyed." But the battle wasn't over. The remaining alien ships, enraged by the loss of their flagship, pressed their attack with desperate fury. They abandoned formation and charged directly at the Defiance. "All remaining fighters, protect the carrier," Morrison ordered. "Don't let them get close." The space around the Defiance became a whirlwind of combat. Human fighters threw themselves at the advancing aliens, trading their lives to protect the massive carrier. The ship's own weapons added to the defensive fire, creating a wall of energy and metal. Mike Chen worked frantically in the manufacturing bay. "Captain, I can give you 20 more fighters in 30 minutes. "We don't have 30 minutes, Morrison replied, watching alien ships break through the defensive line. That's when the unexpected happened. The alien fleet suddenly stopped advancing. Their ships hung motionless in space, as if waiting for orders. That would never come. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet," Grace reported. "Multiple ships are trying to communicate at once. Put them through." The screen filled with different alien faces, the reptilian creatures they had seen before, but also others. Some looked insect-like, others resembled walking plants. All of them seemed confused and frightened. "Human commander," said one of the reptilian aliens. Our collective command structure has been disrupted. We do not know how to proceed." Morrison realized what had happened. The aliens had relied completely on their command ship for coordination. Without it, their rigid hierarchy had collapsed. They were like a computer without its central processor. Commander Stone leaned over to Morrison. "Sir, this might be our chance." "They're completely disorganized," Morrison thought quickly. He could order an attack and probably destroy most of the remaining alien fleet. But something made him hesitate. These creatures looked lost, not hostile. "Alien vessels," Morrison said. "We don't want to destroy you. We want to understand why you attacked us." There was a long pause. Finally, one of the insect-like aliens spoke. We were told humans were a threat, that your expansion must be stopped. We have followed the collective's orders for so long." "Whose orders?" Morrison asked. "The High Command. They said humans would destroy the balance of space, that you were too aggressive, too unpredictable." Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew had fought brilliantly, but they had also shown mercy when they could have chosen revenge. "We're not your enemies. We never wanted this war." Another alien ship joined the conversation. "Our High Command. They have ruled for centuries. They decide who lives and who dies in this galaxy. But you defeated them. You showed that their power is not absolute." The implications hit Morrison like a physical blow. The war wasn't just about territory or resources. The alien High Command had attacked humans because they represented something dangerous to the established order. Change. "All human and alien vessels, cease fire," Morrison ordered. "We need to talk." As the weapons powered down and the smoke cleared, Morrison realized that something historic was happening. The USS Defiance hadn't just won a military victory. They had shattered an empire that had ruled the galaxy through fear and rigid control. 6 months after the battle at Vega Nebula, Captain Morrison, now Admiral Morrison, stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance as it approached the Zephyrian homeworld. But this wasn't an invasion fleet. The ships around the massive carrier included vessels from a dozen different species, all flying together in formation. "Admiral, we're receiving clearance to enter orbit," reported Grace Williams, now his chief communications officer. "The Zephyrian Council is ready to meet with you." Morrison nodded, still amazed by how much had changed. After the battle in the nebula, more and more alien ships had stopped fighting and started talking. They had learned that the Zephyrian collective wasn't really a collective at all. It was a rigid empire, controlled by a small group of high command leaders who had ruled through fear and superior technology. "Any word from Ambassador Price?" Morrison asked. "She's already on the surface, sir. The preliminary negotiations are going well." Ambassador Helen Price had been sent ahead to work out the details of what everyone was calling the new Galactic Accord. It was ambitious, a complete restructuring of how different species interacted in the galaxy. Commander Amy Torres joined Morrison at the main screen. She now commanded the entire fighter wing, which included pilots from 6 different species. "Sir, the mixed squadrons are ready for the demonstration flight." "Are you sure they can work together?" Morrison asked. Amy smiled. "You should see them, sir. The Zephyrian pilots are incredibly precise, but they're learning flexibility from our human pilots. The Kree fighters are natural at electronic warfare, and the Vorthan pilot, well, they're just plain crazy, but in a good way." It had been Amy's idea to create mixed squadrons with pilots from different species. The alien pilots had been amazed by human tactics, while humans had learned from alien technology and precision. Together, they were becoming something new. Dr. Ryan Blake appeared with his usual stack of data pads. Now he was director of Galactic Technology Exchange, overseeing the sharing of knowledge between species. "Admiral, you need to see this. The manufacturing improvements we've made by combining different technologies. It's incredible." Blake showed Morrison a holographic display of the Defiance's upgraded systems. Human adaptability had been combined with Zephyrian precision and Kree innovation. The result was technology that none of the species could have developed alone. "The new fighters can be built in 90 minutes instead of 4 hours, Blake continued, "and their performance is 50% better than anything we had before the Alliance." On the planet below, Ambassador Price sat in a circular chamber with representatives from 15 different species. The meeting had been going on for hours, with each group sharing their concerns and hopes for the future. The humans propose. "Something we have never tried," said the Zephyrian representative, a elderly reptilian with silver scales. "They want to share technology and knowledge freely between all species." "It is unprecedented," admitted the Kree ambassador, her insect-like features clicking with nervousness. "For centuries, each species has guarded its secrets." "And look where that got us," said Ambassador Price firmly. "Centuries of rigid thinking, technology that stopped advancing, a galaxy ruled by fear instead of progress." She activated a display showing the changes that had happened in just 6 months. Former enemies were now working together on scientific projects. Trade routes that had been closed for decades were reopening. Most importantly, the younger members of each species were embracing the new ideas with enthusiasm. "The old High Command made us afraid of change," said a young Vorthan pilot, who had been invited to observe. "They told us that tradition was more important than progress. But humans showed us that change doesn't have to be destructive. It can make us stronger." Back on the Defiance, Morrison was dealing with a different kind of challenge. A urgent message had arrived from Earth. Another alien species had been detected at the edge of human space. But these weren't refugees from the old collective. These were something else entirely. "What do we know about them?" Morrison asked his intelligence team. Commander Rachel Stone pulled up the sensor data. "They call themselves the Hegemony. Their technology appears to be even more advanced than the old Zephyrian High Command. And, Admiral, they don't seem interested in talking." Morrison studied the reports. The Hegemony had destroyed several uninhabited systems, apparently testing their weapons. Their ships were massive and heavily armed. Most concerning, they seemed to view all other species as inferior. "How long before they reach inhabited systems?" "At their current speed, maybe 3 months." Morrison felt the familiar weight of responsibility. Just when peace seemed possible, a new threat had appeared. But this time was different. This time, humans wouldn't face it alone. "Signal the Galactic Council," Morrison ordered. "Tell them we have a situation." The response was immediate. Within, Ours, ships, from every species in the new alliance were changing course to join the human fleet. The Defiance would once again lead a diverse force into battle, but now it was fighting for an entire galactic community. Dr. Sarah Kim, the new director of diplomatic sciences, joined Morrison on the bridge. "Admiral, I've been studying the hegemony. Communications we intercepted. They're not like the old collective at all." "What do you mean?" "The collective was rigid but ultimately wanted stability. The hegemony seems to actively seek conflict. They believe that war makes them stronger." Sarah showed him translated messages. "They see our alliance as weak because it includes so many different viewpoints." Morrison understood. The hegemony represented the opposite of everything the new galactic community stood for. Where the alliance valued diversity and cooperation, the hegemony valued uniformity and domination. "Then we'll have to show them they're wrong," Morrison said. The final confrontation came at the edge of the Terran system, where Earth's sun cast long shadows across the assembled fleets. The hegemony arrived in perfect formation, massive black ships that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. They looked like holes in space itself, but opposing them was something the galaxy had never seen before. The USS Defiance led a fleet of over 300 ships from dozens of different species. Each ship was unique, reflecting its species, culture, and technology, but they worked together with a coordination that amazed even Morrison. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," he announced on the general frequency. "Remember, we're not just fighting for our individual worlds. We're fighting for the right to choose our own future." The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. The hegemony ships were individually superior to anything the Alliance had, but they couldn't adapt to the diverse tactics being used against them. Human creativity, Zephyrian precision, Kree innovation, and Vorthon courage combined in ways that confused and overwhelmed the enemy. When the last hegemony ship was destroyed or retreating, Morrison realized that something permanent had changed in the galaxy. The old order of isolated species competing for dominance was over. In its place was something new, a community of different worlds working together. 5 years later, Morrison stood in the same observation deck where his journey had begun, looking out at Earth. But now, ships from dozens of species regularly visited the human home world. The USS Defiance had become the flagship of the Galactic Alliance fleet, with a crew that represented every member species. Amy Torres, now a fleet admiral herself, joined him at the window. "Remember when we thought one ship could change everything?" Morrison smiled. "Turns out we were right. Just not in the way we expected." Below them, construction was beginning on a new class of vessels. These ships were designed by teams from multiple species, incorporating the best ideas from each culture. They were faster than Zephyrian ships, more adaptable than human vessels, and more innovative than anything the Kree had ever built. But most importantly, they represented something that had never existed before in the galaxy: true cooperation between different forms of life. Dr. Blake appeared with his latest report. Even after all these years, he still carried data pads everywhere. "Admiral, the new ships will be ready for their first mission next month. Where do you want to send them?" Morrison looked out at the stars, where new signals had been detected from unexplored regions of the galaxy. There were other species out there, other civilizations that might need help or might pose new challenges. "Wherever they're needed, Doc. The galaxy is a big place, and there's still a lot of work to do." The USS Defiance had indeed changed everything. It had shown that human adaptability and determination could overcome any obstacle. But more than that, It had proven that different species working together could accomplish things that none of them could achieve alone. As Morrison watched the new ships take shape, he knew that humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't any particular technology or tactic. It was the simple but revolutionary idea that diversity made everyone stronger. The supercarrier that had once been humanity's desperate gamble had become the symbol of a new age, an age where the impossible was just another problem to solve, and where the future belonged to those brave enough to embrace change. The war for survival had become a campaign for progress, and it was just the beginning. Admiral Morrison looked at the star map in his ready room aboard the USS Defiance. Red dots marked unexplored regions where strange signals had been detected. After 10 years of peace, the galaxy was calling again. Lieutenant Commander Kelly Brooks knocked on his door. She had grown from a young fighter pilot into one of the Alliance's top explorers. "Admiral, the scout reports are ready." Morrison gestured for her to sit. Kelly had been part of the original crew that changed everything. Now she led the deep space exploration teams that searched for new civilizations. "What did you find out?" "There, Kelly." "Something big, sir. The signals aren't random. They're organized like a massive communication network. But the strange part is, they're coming from dead systems." Morrison frowned. Dead systems meant planets where life had once existed but was now gone. "How many systems?" "Over 50, sir. All in the same region of space. All showing signs of advanced civilization, but no life signs." Kelly activated a holographic display. "The survey teams found ruins on several worlds. The architecture is unlike anything we've seen before. Any idea what happened to them?" "That's the mystery. There are no signs of war damage, no asteroid impacts, no plague markers. The civilizations just stopped." Dr. Blake entered the room, carrying his ever-present datapad. He was older now, with gray hair and tired eyes, but still the most brilliant. "Engineer in the Alliance. Admiral, I've been analyzing the artifacts Kelly's teams brought back. The technology is incredible, far beyond even what we've achieved with the Alliance." Morrison studied the data. "How far beyond?" "They had mastered energy manipulation on a scale we can barely understand. They could move entire planets, create artificial stars, build structures the size of solar systems." Blake paused. "But they're all gone. All of them. Every trace of life. As if an entire region of the galaxy just decided to disappear." Commander Amy Torres joined them via holographic projection from her flagship. She now commanded the Alliance's rapid response fleet, ready to handle any crisis that arose. "Jake, we need to talk about the other situation," Amy said. "The Outer Rim colonies are reporting unusual readings." Morrison sighed. The Outer Rim was humanity's newest frontier, where brave colonists pushed deeper into unexplored space. "What kind of readings?" "Space distortions. Ships have been disappearing near the boundary of the dead zone." Amy looked worried. 3 colonies have gone silent in the past month." Kelly leaned forward. "Admiral, what if the two situations are connected? What if whatever destroyed those ancient civilizations is still out there?" The thought sent a chill through Morrison. The Alliance had grown strong over the past decade. Dozens of species working together, sharing technology and knowledge. But if there was something in space that could destroy entire civilizations... "Assemble a task force," Morrison ordered. "We need to investigate this personally." "Sir, regulations require you to stay with the main fleet," Amy protested. "Amy, 10 years ago we broke a lot of regulations to save humanity. If there's a threat to the entire galaxy, the Defiance needs to be there." 2 weeks later, the USS Defiance led a small fleet toward the dead zone. The task force included ships from 12 different Alliance species, each bringing their unique capabilities to the mission. Captain Lisa Martinez commanded the new exploration vessel USS Pioneer. She was the daughter of the old General Martinez, continuing her family's tradition of service. Admiral, we're approaching the first dead system. Sensors are picking up massive structures. Morrison joined her on the Pioneer's bridge. Through the main screen, he could see something that defied understanding. Rings of metal and crystal surrounded the system's star, each ring larger than a planet's orbit. "My God," whispered Dr. Blake. "It's a Dyson sphere, but not just one level. Multiple shells, each one harvesting energy from the star." Chief Warrant Officer Tony Chen, Mike's younger brother, ran sensor sweeps from his position. "Sir, the energy readings are off the charts, but there's no one controlling it. The whole system is automated." "Can we get closer?" Morrison asked. "The gravitational fields are stable, but there are warning beacons in 15 different languages. Most of them we don't recognize." Morrison made the decision. "Take us in, but carefully." As they approached the massive structure, more details became visible. Cities the size of continents were built into the rings, spaceports that could dock 1,000 ships, gardens and parks that stretched for millions of kilometers, but it was all empty. "Life support systems are still running," reported the Zephyrian science officer. "Gravity is maintained. Atmosphere is perfect for a dozen different species. But no one's home." Commander Rachel Stone, now the Alliance's chief of intelligence, discovered something disturbing. "Admiral, I'm reading similar structures in 47 other systems. All empty. All still functioning. It's like they built paradise and then just left," Kelly observed. Dr. Blake was studying the construction methods. "Admiral, this technology, it's not just advanced. It's elegant, beautiful. Whoever built this wasn't just smart. They were artists." That's when the message came. The signal was broadcast on all frequencies, in perfect Alliance standard language. A voice, neither male nor female, spoke with infinite sadness. "Greetings, young ones. If you are receiving this, then you have found our monuments. We are the predecessors, we who came before." The entire fleet stopped moving. Every ship, every crew member listened to the ancient voice. "We built these wonders across 1,000 worlds. We mastered energy and matter. We created artificial universes. We thought we had conquered existence itself." Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. "But we learned too late that power without purpose is meaningless. We built magnificent cities but forgot why we wanted to live in them. We created perfect worlds but lost the joy of imperfection. We achieved immortality but discovered that eternal life without growth is death." The voice paused as if gathering strength. "So we chose transcendence, not death, but transformation into something beyond physical existence. We left our toys behind, hoping that those who came after might use them more wisely." The message continued. "But beware, young ones. The same emptiness that consumed us threatens you. We see your alliance, your cooperation, your growth. It gives us hope. But power corrupts, even the power to do good. Remember always why you fight, why you explore, why you build. The greatest threat to any civilization is not external enemies or natural disasters. It is the loss of purpose, the forgetting of dreams, the replacement of wonder with routine. The voice began to fade. "Use our gifts if you wish. Learn from our mistakes. But never stop asking the most important question. What do we want to become?" The message ended, leaving the fleet in stunned silence. Morrison looked around at his diverse crew. Humans, Zephyrians, Kree, Vorthans, and others, all working together. All still learning, still growing, still dreaming of better futures. "Admiral," Amy said quietly, "what do we do with all this?" Morrison thought about the question. The predecessors had left behind technology that could solve every material problem the Alliance faced. Unlimited energy, perfect worlds, the power to reshape reality itself. But they had also left behind a warning. We study it, we learn from it, but we don't let it replace our own journey. Morrison looked out at the magnificent, empty cities. The predecessors forgot that the destination isn't as important as the path you take to get there. Dr. Blake nodded slowly. They achieved everything, but lost themselves in the process. Exactly. We'll take some of their knowledge, but we won't take shortcuts to their endpoint. Morrison turned to his crew. Set course for home. We have work to do. As the fleet departed the dead system, Morrison realized that the Defiance had changed everything once again. Not through battle this time, but through wisdom. They had found the ultimate prize and chosen to leave most of it behind. The Alliance would continue to grow, to explore, to dream. They would use some predecessor technology, but they would not let it replace their own creativity and struggle. The greatest victory wasn't conquering the galaxy. It was keeping their souls while they did it. The USS Defiance turned toward home, carrying the most important discovery in galactic history, the knowledge that some prizes aren't worth winning.